Okay, I'm gonna do another wipeout of all my stuff here. I'm gonna do a select all, and I'm gonna delete all this stuff because I'm still in my pages here. And let's get working a little further here. So we looked a little bit at the type tool, but we're gonna get into the type tool in much further detail in a minute. But we do understand that creating text boxes with the text tool, or when we create boxes, we can put text in. We'll get into that as we go. Let's look. The next thing on the list here is we have the line tool. So the line tool, we can click and drag and create a line. And notice when we make it, there is no stroke or fill because by default there is no stroke or fill. So we're going to go stroke and we're going to say black. And we're going to say that it is 1 point, and now we see it on our screen. But you know what? We can go in here, we can change it. Let's say I get 30 point. Whoa, it's huge, but that's okay. And we'll go back to, let's say, 2 point. And when we move this, if we grab our stroke and we click on it and move it with the move tool, or we rotate it with the move tool, we can do all kinds of things. But look at, we have to grab it, and when we enlarge it, it's kind of different. But if we grab the direct selection tool, we click on it with the direct selection tool and we grab that, it just stretches that handle out. We can do that. We can grab the center, and that, because it's a stroke, it just does the stroke like that. So again, the direct selection and selection tool come into play on this. So I'm going to delete that again, and I'm going to back to my stroke. But notice as I'm drawing, I can just draw the stroke wherever I want. But if I hold the shift key down, ooh, look what the shift key does with the stroke. The stroke and the shift key make it go at perfectly 90 degrees horizontal or 90 degrees vertical. Or if I'm pulling along and dragging, it does it at, it clicks or snaps to 45 degrees. So if you need to make a perfectly straight line, I can come in here and say stroke, make it a magenta, and make it 2 strokes. I'm going to grab my direct selection tool, click on that, drag that out like so to the sides. Now I have a stroke that is already lined up and ready to go on my page. Not a whole lot goes into making strokes. It's basic stuff. Anybody that can do this. And we'll just do strokes like that. But now if we want, we can take our pen tool, which we're going to get into in a little bit. But look at, remember when we did the Bezier handles and stuff like that? If I grab the convert tool and I click on this handle and drag it, it will convert that line into a curve for me. This is still a, now if I want, I can curve that one. That's still a corner point or an actual thing until I click and drag on it. And then if I want, I can come click so that these points go away back to straight lines, and there we have it. I didn't want to go too much into detail on the pen tool and curves yet because we're really going to get into that a little further, but we can make strokes because in InDesign, documents that you make, newsletters, brochures, strokes are going to be very much involved with what a lot of what you do, and strokes on different items and things like that. We'll get into that in much further detail. But the stroke is there, and then we also have the pencil tool, which is kind of cool, but it does the exact same thing as the stroke tool. So if I click and drag out, see what it did? It kind of like, I can draw lines like I did with a pencil. So if I select them both and let's put a stroke on them, black, you can see there's my strokes. And notice when I grab it with the selection tool, I can size that selection or that drawing, or I can grab the direct selection tool, click on that, and then you'll see all the points that are made up of that because I did it with the pencil tool, and it is now a vector piece with all these Bezier handles, and I can grab each one of these pieces and I can, oh, you know what, I want to adjust that. I can grab handles, I can grab things, and it just works really cool. Pencil tool you might like to use, you might not. I don't use it a lot, but then again, I'm a big pen tool and Adobe Illustrator person, and that's where I build most of my stuff. But if you want, it's here, and this is pretty cool. But watch this. I'm going to do another select all, grab the selection tool, select all, and delete. And I'm going to grab that pencil tool again. Watch this. And I'm going to kind of drag this out. Well, the mouse is not the greatest tool for drawing, as you probably know. But because that line is not very smooth. But I'm using the pencil tool, so it's kind of hard with the mouse. So here's the great thing. If I come in here and I grab the smooth tool, which is underneath the pencil tool, and I click and drag across this, see what it's doing if I keep dragging across? It kind of will smooth out my curve. So like in here especially, it's hard to see how well it does, but it does smooth it out, so it's more smooth, cleaner, nicer line. And then of course the eraser tool, I can erase sections of that, and that's all fine and dandy. Or I can grab the direct selection tool, click on a selection point, and you can see if I zoom in on that a little bit. Let me click on this, and if I click on that line, it's highlighted in blue. Delete. Click on that, highlight in blue, and well, let me undo that. So select this point right here and hit delete. It deletes that whole section. So you can use the delete key, but it works very different. If I unselect, go backwards and select it. Now if I give the selection tool and I delete this, it deletes the entire shape. So if with the direct selection tool, again with some of that direct selection type stuff in the name, direct selection, you can select and deselect or delete different sections of things by using that tool.